So Chiz was telling us, Ed, that you recently came into possession of a Bugatti that's had like a nice celebrity lifespan, and now it's yours. That's cool. What's the story with that?
Yeah, that's the red one behind me. It had kind of been a goal for quite some time to find the next crazy dream car, and this one was the Frankfurt Motor Show car, and then Birdman bought it of Cash Money Records, not the Miami Heat center with the neck tattoos, and he gave it to Justin Bieber as a present.
Birdman.
I didn't know there were any Birdmans until just now.
Well, now you won't be confused as to which one it was. But apparently he had collateralized some massive loan on his house and his Bugatti, and so all of it got repossessed. And so then a bank sold it, and Floyd Mayweather bought it to preemptively celebrate beating Conor McGregor in that fight they did. So he bought it like 2 days before the fight and started driving around to his strip clubs.
That's
just
awesome.
to show that he was going to win, and he obviously then did.
Mm-hmm.
I learned today that right after that fight, he bought a $25 million house in Beverly Hills that he's never spent the night in. So
that guy loves his treats. He's like, oh, I do need a little treat. This little $25 million mansion.
That guy spins like he thinks they're going to take it all away at some point. He really does. He spins like he thinks at some point it's all going to come crashing down no matter what, and they're coming for him. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people that
kind
didn't
of
come from
spending,
anything, and they do that.
Like a badass private jet, like the kind of jet that like you throw 12, 15 people in and go to London from New York is like $20 million. $25 million to frivolously spend is insanity. Like I never understood how Mike Tyson could go through all that money until they laid it out in like an infographics YouTube video, and it's like
with the pigeon budget.
Yeah, he went through like $500 million, something crazy like that.
That's it. And then it kind of started to be transacted by this dealer who was he's the nephew of the Whittington brothers, who were some legendary marijuana smugglers and part-time Porsche racers in the 1970s and 80s. And so they actually won at Le Mans in 935. And so their nephew just got arrested for fraud, but he had sold this car a few times, including to a guy named Lil Uzi Vert, who I don't really know who that is, but I was told he had a gemstone implanted in his forehead.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that guy. Okay.
I don't like
that. the little Uzi with the gemstone. Thank you for disambiguating that.
I'm
like sure
which. He literally had a gemstone like between his eyes and his flesh.
No, I know. Oh,
there you go.
He's got
Lil Uzi Vert, of course.
It's like he just lost the UFC fight.
Yeah, we spent the last weekend buffing his footprint out of the hood because he used to take pictures standing on it.
What an asshole. What an asshole.
And at one point, the NYPD impounded the car because he parked it illegally. So there's a bunch of social media clips circulating this week. There's one of Mayweather driving it. There's one of Lil Uzi Vert getting it in trouble. And he had it like wrapped every different color. And so it's always been neglected. And that's usually the kind of cars that I like to buy. And I always think the celebrity provenance makes it a little bit more interesting. Yep, there you go.
What an asshole.
So we had to do it. But the whole thing is red now. Red with a red interior and red wheels, which is not the way I probably would expect one, but you don't get to order them from the used car factory.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
that's
got
really
a car
cool.
question. You've been around the most interesting cars for quite some time now. Are you becoming impossible to impress?
So many different things impress me. The cars, the stories to me are always more fun than the cars. So if you could show me some Ponzi schemers, not that interesting car that got in a crime or whatever, and I still think it's awesome. And so if it's got a fun story or it's got a really enthusiast owner that just loves using it, that to me is what's awesome. I mean, we even amongst the spectrum of supercars and hypercars, the ones that are all rock chipped up with, scratches and cracks and stuff like that, to me are so much more fun than the ones that are immaculate and ready for the show field at any time. I think the more you use them and the more stories you got to tell about them, the better they are.
I like that.
But as far as like new car technology, things that come out year to year, and the whatever's in the Car and Driver magazine right now on the cover, like, does that stuff impress you? Because is there anything there that's cutting edge, that's new, that you care about?
It's interesting because, I'll turn 40 next year. And so I live in kind of this MTV Cribs, DuPont Registry, Top Gear, Gran Turismo, Fast and Furious, Gone in 60 Seconds cohort of car enthusiasts. And so I like to look like I won the lottery 10 or 20 years ago because those are the cars that I grew up dreaming about. And the chance now through extraordinary financial arrangements with these banks to be able to own them and drive them, to me, is really the peak. So I don't look at like the Ferrari F80, which came out today, and it's the successor to the LaFerrari and the Enzo F50, F40, 288. And it doesn't blow my skirt up the way it would if for a 16-year-old today, because they think that is the new crazy holy grail thing to chase. And so I think there's always the cars that are going to resonate with you most just based on your age and how impressionable you are. But yeah, that car, they're going to make 799 of them. They're
it looks like the Batmobile.
$3.9 million.
It looks like the fucking new Batmobile from the movie or something. That looks insane.
It's nuts. Yeah. And McLaren just came out with their
really
W1, which is the successor to the F1 and the P1. And, the performance is extraordinary. They're all hybridized. And so the long-term reliability is pretty questionable. That one's got a twin turbo V6 plus the hybrid assist for 1,200 horsepower. And so, I mean, that's awesome. And there's a huge market for it, but that is even less relatable in my current position than my cars were when I was 15 years old. And so it's harder to envision, really what those become years from now. P1s are awesome cars, but they're really hard to maintain and the batteries are failing on them. And it's $160,000 to replace them. That F1 that was right next to it, they're now $20 million and there's only 106 of them, 64 road cars. And so it's a very tough thing to know, what is going to motivate the next cohort of car collectors, because in general, what happens is that as they get, about 15 to 25 years old, the people that grew up dreaming about them start to develop the means to buy them. And I have always tried really hard to leverage myself excessively and be able to buy them before I ought to. And that's treated me well financially because the rest of the cohort kind of catches up, enter the market, the demand increases and the values go up. And that was one of the reasons for going a little over the top and being too aggressive in buying the Bugatti, is that I think that they stand a really good chance. And the car's now 12 years old over the course of the next 10 years to do quite well.
That's pretty cool. So you figured out how to buy low, sell high in cars. I do the opposite. Yeah.
It's fun because, as long as you have reasonably mainstream tastes for your age, that tends to happen, especially if you target rarity and things like that. So there's only 14 of those in the country, 58 in the world of the Targa version of the 1,000 horsepower W16 car. And so it's special enough that if anybody wants one, they go up. And fortunately, they're for me as a buyer of the 14 cars, the worst 6 of them were for sale in the last year. And that's far more supply than the market could ever absorb of anything. And so it drove the prices down almost $1 million. And so the guy that I bought it from that owned it most recently after Lil Uzi Vert, he lost $1 million in 18 months, putting 800 miles on it.
I mean, I'm learning
about
more
how much
about
you paid for it. Is that a secret? Is that rude to ask?
The bank paid $145, and as long as I satisfy my obligation, it can stay in my
That's a fucking note on a $1.45 million car.
Well, I sold 7 cars for the down payment, and so it was a manual LP640, 3 Cayennes that we used for the Alaska expedition, an old Rolls Royce we'd raced across the country, a 6-wheeled Range Rover, and a Ferrari that was kind of all the car trek cars.
What a motley crew!
One.
motley crew.
That's it. Yeah. So quite the variety that I've liquidated over the last year or so to be able to do it.
So cool.
So the payment's like $8,300 a month.
Yeah.
Which I can float for a little while, not indefinitely.
10 years, you said, right? That's when it should make some money.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thought, is that, over the course of the next, 3 to 5 years, hopefully it moves in the right direction and I'm able to maybe refi some equity.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's awesome. Big move. That's a cool move. That's a lot of balls too. And it requires a lot of foresight as well. How many cars did you say went in? I think of it like Pokemon cards. And
then 7 for
scary.
1.
7 for 1. Okay.
Put it all in red. I like that, Zach.
Put it all. Yeah. Which car is this? Is this red car right here?
It's the red.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so scary.
I'm so unsophisticated in this because the red one in the gray black one closer to you
Yeah.
look the same level of cool to me.
Do you eat in them?
You know, I try not to worry about anything with them. I try to buy the worst examples of my favorite cars so that I can't make them any worse. I like to live in the margin between like really unacceptable and okay. Good and perfect, and that stuff is for the birds. You know, you just get all stressed out about it. And so the Spiker behind me is, I bought it from Missy Elliott 2 years ago, and she hadn't seen the car in 5 years. And we knew it didn't run, but it actually turned out to be much nicer than I would normally expect the car to be. And so, yeah, of the cars back there, the red one left, the orange R8 turned into a Ferrari, and then that left, and that 2 Cayennes back there are gone. I've got 1 left. We had 4 at one point.
I'm looking at those cars, and I think the red one's the coolest, but I might be attracted to red. Which one's actually the coolest?
Well, my favorite ones are the 2 Lambos in the middle, the black one in the middle, because they're just the manual transmission LP640s that I grew up dreaming about. But they're all the same car, effectively. They're a 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 Lamborghini Murcielago from 07, 09, and 2010. So the red one certainly had the most presence to it. So you got good taste.
Okay. Yeah.
And if that one had there's only 44 of those in the country, but only 3 of them have manual gearboxes, and those are worth about $5 million. Mine was an E-Gear car that had the whole front knocked off of it during a group drive in New York.
Damn. Man, this is a fun business to be in when you love cars. Just being like, I gotta work. I have to trade 7 incredible cars for the rarest car of all time.
That's
just another day at work.
And the coolest thing was that the Bugatti logo is EB, and my initials are EB. And so I always wanted the license plate EB, but it had been registered for 15 years. And so our VINwiki app allows you to get the VIN from the license plate. And then I plugged that into Carfax, and I got the shop that had been servicing the car. I called them. They gave me the owner's number. It was a landline, and they wouldn't answer for years and years. But after I got the car, I Googled her name, and it was this woman that lived not too far away, but she passed away in January. And so I got her, the obituary gave me her daughter's name, who I followed up with and said, hey, sorry for your loss, but do you have any plans for that license plate? And she's like, I think I know where it is. And so she went to Mom's house and pulled it out, and I was able to get it. So I have the EB plate on the EB car.
That's cool. I'm happy for you. I bet that was a good day when they got that done.
Yes, feels good to have it.
Cool.
Sort of.
What's the all right? So this thing's $8,300 a month. How much is the insurance? Because I'm sure you've got fleet insurance, but you can't just slide that car onto the policy, right?
No, but since it's with Haggerty and they kind of know that you can only crash one at a time, it's about $600 a month, which as a percentage of value is really low.
That's smart. Yeah,
interesting.
I guess. Yeah. Wow. God damn. That is quite a note. That's hard to imagine. 8,300.
Well, there's another car YouTuber called the Stradman, and he recently acquired a Koenigsegg Gira, and he took over an existing lease for the car, and it was $35,000 a month at about a $2 million loan amount.
Was it crazy lease terms too? Was it like 500 miles or something retarded?
Well, usually what these are what's called an open-ended lease. So we have a sponsor called Premier Financial Services that does them, and it's really a balloon loan based on the way anybody would look at it, because it's not like a normal lease where you can just turn the car in at the end of it. So it allows you, it looks like that, except it's blue. And but for $35,000 a month, I cannot fathom. I mean, even being able to do it next month, much less like every month for probably a 5-year term.
What does the car cost?
It was probably about $2.8. He actually had a Bugatti that he traded for it that had been owned by a pornographer for some time. And he
a pornographer,
like a high-ranking pornographer?
No, I don't believe so.
Pornography business is good, Taylor. Make a note of that.
Was he like he's a grip? He's holding the boom mic over the people fucking.
I can't remember his name. So he was really active on the car forums like 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I was a kid. And he was, it was always about like the first time a girl had ever been on camera. That was his like shtick. Mm-hmm. And so he owned a bunch of interesting cars. He also made a video with a gold Lamborghini Murcielago out on like an abandoned highway near Vegas going 219 miles an hour. And so then he bought this Bugatti and made some content with it, I suppose.
Oh,
And yeah, so I didn't realize that Stradman hadn't told that to his audience. We actually did a video of praising his entire collection. That's one of the things that I mentioned that like might come up if you were selling the car, that people might not love that about its history. And I guess he hadn't told his audience that, even though I thought it was kind of like common knowledge about it.
I was going to ask you about,
so
I was going to ask you about Diddy, because I think that you're maybe the kind of individual to come in like a vulture as his assets are being liquidated and scoop up. Maybe he's got some cool cars and he's going to need to liquidate.
I would buy some Diddy. Although, the question is always like, sometimes when you put out content, the dislike ratios can get out of hand just because the content is dislikable for logical reasons like pedophilia. And I think that it would probably do really poorly in terms of, YouTube performance.
No, go lighthearted with it. Be like,
Exactly.
Diddy's locking car seats in the back. Like you could have some fun making fun of Diddy's car and the pedophilia that probably happened there.
This car would appraise for $1 million, but the baby oil smell is impossible to remove.
You can't even
look at that leather. You know why it's so well preserved?
This is a 2008 Bugatti, which means it's too old for Diddy now.
Before Trump's Diablo ran at Barrett Jackson, I got offered the car for a lot less than it ended up selling for. And I mean, it's not hard to imagine that Trump's Lamborghini is going to be valuable long term, although there's about, I think, 6 or 7 Lamborghinis that he's owned over the years. But I was concerned that even if I got it and was able to flip it for a profit later, I thought the content would suffer because it appears that, give or take, 50% of the country doesn't approve of it. But that's it. That's a 1997 Diablo Roadster in Blue Le Mans.
There's no way he's fit in that car anytime recently.
No, he has not. He has not.
But yeah, I can't imagine him behind the wheel. He was funnier behind the fire truck wheel.
Yeah, there's no way you can be overweight and drive one of these little things.
A lot of us try. That's him. Yeah. So that was a 95 VT.
All right.
Oh, this is 1995. I was going to be like
prime. Oh, this dude was grabbing pussy all day, air day. In that
Look at that. Does he have a golf glove on? Oh no, his hands
on one hand.
Well, that's how you wear a golf glove. You only have one.
But I think he's a righty.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
I didn't know that. I thought he was in the process.
I think some people wear 2 gloves.
No, you don't. If you wear 2 gloves, people are gonna treat you like a retard.
Fact check Taylor.
Get it out,
but be real. One-sided about it. Make sure you find like Tiger Woods with 2 gloves on. And like
nobody wears 2 gloves.
We agreed not to do that. We agreed no fact checking.
No fact checking.